Hello and welcome to Scientifically Speaking. Today we're going through another confirmation video that, well, you know, basically when you hear it, it's either complete confirmation that God sent me visions and I've been reading out the small scroll for the past 9 years, or you can pretend I never said these things. Now, this video is about energy runs in the center and how all things, because life is electrical, electromagnetism, electricity and magnetism, and all waves and frequencies and hertz and everything in between that, everything is electrical. And I said that through all the center of all atoms, all planets, all stars, electricity is running through the center. Now, this might even fly against the electric universe theories where our sun is lit on the outside by electricity. I don't know if that theory states that the electricity runs through it. I've no idea. I can't remember. But I've always said, especially in this video, from 6 years ago, that energy runs in the center. So you're going to listen to what I say about all things as God showed it to me. God showed me behind the veil where I could see energy movement within all things. That's how God taught me to be able to show it on how leaves are made, how flowers are made, how grass is grown, why trees look like they do. So it all came down to energy runs through the center because you need electricity in the center of something to generate a magnetic field. Now you can apply electricity from the outside, but it will cascade to the center in electricity and magnetism. Until it reaches the center, then a new magnetic field is produced. You see, mountains give off surface magnetism. The surface of something tells you all about magnetism. This is the problems they have in quantum computing, where they find anomalies where a vortex has been produced because there is an anomaly on the surface of the material they are using. If ever there is a change in direction of landscape, you will get a bunching up or a stretching of material. Same as if you put a piece of string over a floor that has a bow in the middle, it will be stretched. If it has a peak in the room, it will be stretched, but in a different direction. The one with the bow covers less distance. The one with the bow downwards, the string covers less distance. The floor with a bow upwards in it, the string is longer. So depending on if it's a depression or a raised mound, will be either a shorter string or a longer string. And because of these discrepancies of short and long, you get vortices forming. And this is where they're looking into superconductivity, where this doesn't happen. Anyway, I've gone off track. So we'll listen to the video and what I say about energy runs in the center of all things, which science doesn't say that. It would say energy ran on the outside of things, or electricity does. Let's have a listen.
Today, I'd like to take us to the fundamentals of science, which is what science in the mainstream doesn't have. You've got your quantum mechanics, quantum tunneling, you got your gravity and all this other absolute rubbish, and then you've got Neil deGrasse Tyson spouting even more magical unicorn stories about teleporting electrons, of which there is no such thing, and just shows what pretty much a bit of a bozo about science he really is.
Point.
That energy and matter are separate, and that energy runs through the center of all things, all atoms, all matter. It's what energy does. Energy inflates matter by running through the center. Now, mainstream science seems to think that atoms have their own intrinsic power, and that you can release this kind of power in a nuclear bomb, which is absolute garbage. All you're doing is, because they fire electricity into it, you fire electricity into a nuclear bomb and all it does is expand the matter. It's electricity. That's what electricity does. It creates an EM field, which creates a massive Ouroboros torus rotation sphere, which expands at the speed of light. So there you go. Energy, though, started in the center and exploded outwards and pushed all the matter outwards. So if I'm going to say that energy runs through the middle of atoms and that atoms don't have any intrinsic value of their own except energy that becomes trapped in the matter, which is not a great deal. As you can see, all atoms are very small. That's because the energy they contain at the moment is one pulse of energy, which inflates it, and then it passes through, and then another pulse arrives, which is why it seems to appear and disappear and wink in and out of existence, which again is magical unicorn stories. It is inflated, deflated, inflated, deflated. It is an electromagnetic pump. And that inflates and deflates, inflates and deflates. Okay, so I've set the premise for, I say, energy and matter are separate, and the energy runs through the center of all matter. I should be able to produce some kind of evidence in my electrical universe, because I say electricity is fractal, and so that every single item of reality can be viewed in different aspects and fractal sizes of reality.
Okay, so there you heard it. I was about to prove it there. Obviously, I must do something on this video. I will link that video below. But now we are going to go to technology.org, and current takes a surprising path in quantum materials. Cornell researchers used magnetic imaging to obtain the first direct visualization of how electrons flow in a special type of insulator, and by doing so they discovered that the transport current moves through the interior of the quantum material rather than at the edges, as scientists had long assumed. So I've done videos on quantum mechanics and all that sort of thing. If you just put in quantum into the video search on my channel, several videos will come up. Honestly, I really don't need to read any further to show that science has now, 6 years later, finally caught up with what God showed me. The energy runs in the centre of all things. It doesn't just run on the outside. I mean, this is plainly obvious. If you get electrocuted, where does the energy go? Does it run along the surface of your body? No, it doesn't. But this is showing the quantum reality of a human being where energy will go through the matter. In the case of the sun, perhaps it is only on the outside, but I doubt that very much. I firmly believe that energy is in the centre of the sun, and the outside is lit by the static that it's giving off, same way that we have grass growing is the expulsion of energy from this planet through a DNA shape, a DNA electrical code frequency, and the sun doesn't. It just has energy being lit on the outside. So, back to this. What else did they say? The findings provide new insights into the electron behavior in so-called quantum anomalous Hall insulators, and should help settle a decades-long debate about how current flows in more general quantum Hall insulators. These insights will inform the development of topological materials for next-generation quantum devices. See, topological materials, these are the things that they want to turn into superconductors that have no anomalous topological problems, where if there is a vortex formed, heat is generated right there because it's taking a longer path, and fields are interacting with each other, which causes the vortex. But that's not what this video is about. This team's paper, Direct Visualization of Electronic Transport in Quantum Anomalous Hall Insulator, published in Nature Materials. The lead author is Matt Ferguson, currently a postdoctoral researcher at the Max Planck Institute for Chemical Physics of Solids in Germany. The project, led by Katja Novak, Assistant Professor of Physics in the College of Arts and Sciences and the paper's senior author, has its origins in what's known as the quantum Hall effect. First discovered in 1980, this effect results when a magnetic field is applied to a specific material to trigger an unusual phenomena. The interior of the bulk sample becomes an insulator while an electric current moves in a single direction along the outer edge. And I, of course, have said, if you apply magnetism to something, you get electricity, and if you apply electricity to something, you get magnetism. That's the most basic function of electricity, or the application of magnetism. The resistance are quantized or restricted to a value defined by the fundamental universal constant and drop to zero. A quantum anomalous Hall insulator, first discovered in 2013, achieves the same effect by using a material that is magnetized. Quantization still occurs and longitudinal resistance vanishes, and the electron speed along the edge, without dissipating and the electrons speed along the edge without dissipating energy, somewhat like a superconductor. At least that is the popular conception. The picture where the current flows along the edges can really nicely explain how you get that quantization. But it turns out it's not the only picture that can explain quantization, Novak said. This edge picture has really been the dominant one since the spectacular rise of topological insulators starting in the early 2000s. The intricacies of the local voltages and local currents have largely been forgotten. In reality, these can be much more complicated than the edge picture suggests. Only a handful of materials are known to be quantum anomalous Hall insulators. For their new work, Novak's group focused on chromium-doped bismuth antimony telluride, the first compound in which the quantum anomalous Hall effect was first observed a decade ago. The sample was grown by collaborators led by physics professor Knighton at Pennsylvania State University. To scan the material, Novak and Ferguson used their lab's superconducting quantum interference device, or SQUID, an extremely sensitive magnetic field sensor that can operate at low temperatures to detect dauntingly tiny magnetic fields. The SQUID effectively images the current flows, which are what generate the magnetic field, and the images are combined to construct the current density. I'd just like to throw in a bit of media science here, which have told us in the last few days, if you read that sort of thing, that they don't understand where magnetic fields come from in the universe. And it says here, the SQUID effectively images the current flows, which are what generate the magnetic field. But media science will never say that there's current flow in the universe. They're getting there, but they're dragging it out. They're just still asking, where's this magnetic field and how is it generated? Well, magnetic fields through matter only come from current. So again, that's mainstream media trying to keep everybody stupid by asking stupid questions like, where does magnetism come from? Well, magnetism comes from electricity, and electricity comes from magnetism. Again, as I said earlier, it's the simplest exchange you could ever talk about. Electricity becomes magnetism, magnetism becomes electricity, because they're both the same thing, energy. The currents that we are studying are really, really small, so it's a difficult measurement, Novak said. And we needed to go below 1 Kelvin in temperature to get a good quantization in the sample. I'm proud that we pulled it off. When the researchers noticed the electrons flowing in the bulk of the material, not at the boundary edges, they began to dig through old studies. They found that in the years following the original discovery of the quantum Hall effect in 1980, there was much debate about where the current flowed, a controversy unknown to most younger material scientists, Novak said. I hope the newer generation working on topological materials takes note of this work and reopens the debate. It's clear that we don't even understand some very fundamental aspects of what happens in topological materials. If we don't understand how the current flows, what do we actually understand about these materials? Said the scientists. So I'd already said that energy flows in the centre because the good Lord from the Bible showed it to me. The Spirit visited me in 2014 and showed me how everything works, from the quantum realm to the cosmic level. And here we are again, getting confirmation 6 years after I said it, that energy runs in the centre. You can't stop electricity and magnetism. It's the whole point. It goes where it wants, just as God goes where he wants. Thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ, and I'm telling you about all the things he showed me in 2014 for 3 weeks, day and night, didn't sleep for 9 days, until a voice said, write it down. Thanks a lot.